I've been interested in photography for about as long as I can remember. When I was a little kid, someone gave me a Brownie Hawkeye camera, which was a very basic camera, as were most cameras in those days, but I really had a lot of fun with it. A few years later, I took a class in darkroom processing, learning how to process black and white pictures, and I found it quite magical how the image would appear on the paper. I continued to use film cameras for up until 4 or 5 years ago when I bought a digital camera and started experimenting with digital photography. I found it to be very interesting, but it also gave me a lot more opportunity to work with my images, not only photographing but processing on the computer, using dodging and burning and cropping and the various things I used to use in a real darkroom. My interest in photography just covers almost all aspects. I really enjoy photographing ancient ruins, landscapes, nature, still shots, color, and black and white. The last few years I've kind of leaned a little more toward monochrome black and white images, and I'm not sure why. It's just something that I've directed my energy a little more toward. And recently I was honored by having one of those images on the cover of B&W magazine. Egypt, the land of the pharaohs, a country that I've always been fascinated with, the culture, the history, and the people. I've studied the history, I've learned the hieroglyphs, and a couple years ago I had an opportunity to travel there with a group of photographers associated with Popular Photography magazine. Our trip involved just a photographic mission, starting with the oldest of the pyramids, the Step Pyramid of Saqqara. This is a pyramid built about 4,600 years ago by King Djoser. It's fascinating and is surrounded by a well-preserved funerary complex. From there, we went to the Giza Plateau. The Giza Plateau is where the 3 great pyramids are located and probably one of the most photographed spots in the world. The greatest of these pyramids was built by Khufu 4,500 years ago. This is a massive structure that's just overwhelming. The base of it occupies 14 acres and it's about 460 feet tall. Adjacent to Khufu's pyramid is Khafre's pyramid, Khufu's son. He also has a massive pyramid, almost as large as Khufu's. The third is Menkare's. Menkare was Khafre's son. His pyramid is not nearly as impressive. It's nice, but the other 2 tower over it. Near Khafre's pyramid is the Great Sphinx. The Great Sphinx is considered to be part of the funerary complex for Menkare. It's about a quarter of a mile from the pyramid, but because of the pyramid's massive size, when you look at it, it appears that the pyramid towers over it. The ancient and mysterious Nile was a wonderful place to travel. We floated the Nile, and upstream on the Nile are some of the more, what you would call the more current temples of Edfu, Philae, and Kamambo. And these are temples that were constructed during the Ptolemaic period, which is the period around 300 BC after Alexander the Great conquered Egypt. These were followed later on by a Roman influence in the beginning of the 1st century. So these temples are considered pretty modern. Further down the river, we come to Karnak and Luxor. Karnak and Luxor are more ancient temples built primarily, it's my understanding, by the 18th dynasty pharaohs. Some of the more well-known are Ramses the Great, Seti, Thutmose, Amenhotep, and a number of others. They're huge, they're endless, their photographic opportunities are just outstanding. We spent a lot of time in Luxor and a lot of time in Karnak. Luxor and Karnak are right across the Nile River from the Valley of the Kings. The Valley of the Kings, as most people know, were the ancient burial grounds for many of the pharaohs, and that's where the famous Tutankhamun's tomb is located. While floating down the Nile, we had opportunities to photograph a number of the villages along the Nile. These villages consist of very, very mud brick buildings, very poor people. The Nile seems to be their community gathering place. The way they come down and they do their washing, and they're chatting with each other, and you'll find their animals in the river while they're washing their clothes, and it's quite interesting. I had opportunity to photograph a number of them, and they seem to welcome welcome my taking their picture. They didn't feel like I was imposing on them, and sometimes that does happen, but most of the Egyptians were very willing and happy to have their picture taken. But they're gracious, kind people, fun people to be around. While we were in Cairo, we attended a camel market, which would be an auction, basically what we would think of as a cattle auction. But this is a market where the local people bring their camels, and although they don't auction them, you can see them making deals with the buyers and the sellers, and the camels are running rampant. One of the most interesting aspects of the camel market was the opportunity to photograph the people there. They have no qualms about having their pictures taken, and oftentimes they'll try to pose for you, which is not what I want. But it was a wonderful experience, very dusty, hot, but interesting. Spain is another country that I found very impressive and very beautiful. What made Spain so fun to be there was you find beautiful geography. There are cathedrals, there are walled cities, there are Roman ruins, and there are a variety of wonderful opportunities. The butterfly garden in Victoria, BC is a fascinating place to photograph. Using a long lens, I'm able to get some very close-up shots that give us some beautifully detailed pictures of butterflies. They're numerous, they're easy to photograph, and it's an opportunity that I found to be very rewarding. Another area of nature photography that's very enjoyable are the flowers that are in my garden. Obviously they're easy to reach and they're easy to photograph, and they're wonderful subjects of nature. Calla lilies, roses, dahlias, just virtually anything you see in your garden usually will be a beautiful photograph. Palouse is an area in eastern Washington that is absolutely beautiful. I photographed this area in June, and the area just gave me the feeling of, and the appearance of rolling green sand dunes. Photographing it from a 3,500-foot butte, looking down into the valley, provided some very interesting and very beautiful photography. I returned to the Palouse in August, and the beautiful greens and yellows had turned to browns and golds, but it was like being in two different places. I enjoyed the June photography more so than the August photography, but they were both equally beautiful. In the jungles of Mexico and Guatemala lie mysterious temples and pyramids of the Mayan civilization. While Europe was in the Dark Ages, these amazing people constructed cities in the jungle with amazing architectural perfection. Three of these cities are Chichen Itza and Uxmal, located on the Yucatan Peninsula, and Tikal in Guatemala. Chichen Itza is a remarkably well-preserved city with a number of structures of interest. El Castillo, Spanish for castle, is a large pyramid centrally located and was constructed so that at the vernal equinox, the setting sun casts a shadow of a serpent writhing down the steps of the pyramid. The Temple of the Warrior was for me the most awe-inspiring ruin of the complex. It is a massive structure surrounded by hundreds of columns that lead into the jungle. The observatory, called Caracal, is a strange building south of El Castillo, which evidently had astronomical significance. Uxmal is a large Mayan city on the Yucatan Peninsula. Because of its remarkable state of preservation, a visitor can get a good idea how the entire ceremonial center looked in ancient times. Some of its more noteworthy structures are the Pyramid of the Magician, the Governor's Palace, and the Nunnery Quadrangle. The Pyramid of the Magician is an immense, unusual pyramid. Its layers are oval rather than the usual rectangular or square. The Governor's Palace is a long, low building on a platform adorned with interesting facades and is adjacent to the Pyramid of the Magician. The Nunnery Quadrangle is a quadrangle of low buildings with elaborately carved facades. Tikal is located in the Guatemala jungle and is the largest of the ancient Mayan cities. However, most of it has not been excavated. The most prominent excavated buildings are 6 large step pyramids supporting temples on their tops. The twin pyramids face each other from opposite ends of the Great Plaza. Another pyramid looms high above the jungle canopy. In addition to the pyramids, there are a number of unnamed buildings and structures that are architecturally interesting and quite fascinating to photograph. Italy is a wonderful place to travel. The people are very friendly. The country is just fantastically interesting. Ruins are abundant, and we can find them pretty much everywhere you go. Some of the ruins are in really good state of preservation, and others are just simply ruins. While I was in Italy, I had the opportunity to visit a number of small towns such as Sorrento and Salerno, as well as the major attractions. After seeing Rome, it is difficult to describe the effect that it can have, with its houses, squares, churches, fountains, steps, columns, and monuments. It's truly a fabulous city. It's said that it's difficult to dig anywhere in Rome without finding some ruins. One of the most spectacular ruins in Rome is the Roman Colosseum. Colosseum is a complex ancient structure built in the 1st century AD. It seated 50,000 people and was used for a number of purposes, including gladiator battles. The Colosseum is illuminated at night, which gives it an interesting effect in a photograph. The Roman Forum is adjacent to the Colosseum and consists of columns, the Arch of Septimus, and the Senate building. It was on the steps of the Forum that Julius Caesar was killed by his fellow senators. The Trevi Fountain is a very large, architecturally interesting, and popular attraction located in central Rome. It, at one time, was actually the backyard of a Roman noble. Photographing it is a bit difficult. It is always very crowded with tourists. St. Peter's Cathedral is the most prominent building inside Vatican City and one of the largest churches in the world. Walking into the cathedral can be overwhelming. There are monuments, altars, and memorials everywhere, to say nothing of its immensity and incredible beauty. The Sistine Chapel is one of the most famous artistic treasures in the world. It's located in the Apostolic Palace, which is the official residence of the Pope. What makes the Sistine Chapel so spectacular is Michelangelo. Michelangelo's paintings are on the ceiling and on the walls. It's difficult to describe its beauty. Some of the frescoes in the chapel are scenes of the life of Moses, the Last Judgment, Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and especially notable are the two hands reaching out to each other. Pompeii is a large, wonderfully preserved ancient Roman city. When Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD, it covered the city of Pompeii with 20 feet of ash, mud, and lava, consequently preserving it for hundreds of years. Today, there are many intact structures, homes, temples, and baths. The basilica is especially noteworthy. Photographic opportunities in Pompeii are endless. Homes on the Range is a collection of photographs of old homesteads, deserted farmhouses, deserted homes, scattered around the Pacific Northwest primarily, but I've found them in Utah and South Carolina. The ones we found in Utah was the old film set for the TV show Gunsmoke. And when I photographed those, I recognized some of them from the old days, or from the old shows. What intrigued me about these buildings and about photographing old broken down farmhouses was, well, I just wondered what went on, what the history was. Some of these buildings were very well constructed and expensive homes. And one day, somebody just walked away from them, and they left them and never went back. And it just kind of makes you wonder what created the situation where someone would walk away from their home. We were on a trip to Central Europe, and it started in Poland with Warsaw and Krakow. Warsaw was not so interesting, primarily because most of Warsaw was destroyed in World War II. So the antiquity of the city is gone. There's a lot of monuments to the Jews who were exterminated in the Warsaw Ghetto, and you know the recent history is kind of gloomy and sad. Krakow was not destroyed in the war, and a lot of the ancient and antiquated buildings and structures and cathedrals are still intact, and it was a wonderful place to photograph. We moved on from Poland to Budapest, Hungary. Budapest, Hungary is actually two cities, Buda and Pest. They don't say Pest, they say Pest. Separated by the river. Budapest is a very beautiful, well-preserved city. A lot of cathedrals, interesting bridges. The Parliament building in Budapest is like a castle. From Budapest, we went to Vienna, Austria. Vienna is the home of Mozart. While there, we went to a Mozart concert. Vienna is an Austrian city that speaks German. I mean, primarily because the Germans had occupied Vienna during the war, or Austria during the war. Another beautiful city. It's hard for me to. They're all beautiful. They're all interesting. They all have wonderful structures to photograph. From Vienna, we went to Prague. Prague in the Czech Republic. To me, Prague is one of the most beautiful cities I've ever seen. It's got stately cathedrals. It's got unique streets. Most of the buildings are quite antiquated and well preserved, and I found Prague, as I said, to be one of the most beautiful cities I've ever been in. We visited the concentration camp of Auschwitz. It's kind of difficult to talk about this place, which was a camp of terror and murder and starvation and every atrocity imaginable. The Nazis amassed literally millions of people in this concentration camp, and a concentration camp is basically considered to be a camp where people work. The purpose of Auschwitz was twofold. One, to kill people, and the other, to work people to death. When people came into Auschwitz, they were directed in two directions. One, the workers were on one side, the older people, the older women, the older men, the children, the pregnant women, all went directly to the gas chambers. Over 1 million Jews were killed there in the most inhumane, most disgusting ways imaginable. They were starved to death, they were worked to death, they were poisoned, they were experimented on medically. This is a place that's unspeakable. I have a real hard time describing the anger I felt and the sorrow I felt when I was there. As these captives walked into the gates of Auschwitz, they walked under a sign that said "Arbeit macht frei," which is German for "work makes you free." And, however, in their case, work killed them. Virtually no one walked out of there alive. I mean, they had like 600 what you'd call bunkhouses, which would house several hundred people, and they put these on these wooden racks, and that's where they slept. If they failed to get up to go to work, they were shot. This was truly a residence of death. It was one of the most unspeakable places I've ever been. And when I left there, it took me some time to get my life back in perspective. Guatemala is an interesting Central American country. It's a large mountainous country with numerous volcanoes. One of the things I liked a lot about Guatemala were the people. They are so friendly, and these people are very active with their markets. Their markets where the locals come and sell their meats and their breads and their fruits and their vegetables. They're all very busy and all very businesslike. Of course, they're all trying to sell the Americans a lot of stuff, and they can be a bit of a bother. But the people they're very interesting, very colorful, very handsome people, and the children are especially fun. A number of times that when I would take their pictures, I'd show them the screen on the digital camera, and they really like that. And once they see the screen, then you've got it made. Then they want you to take their picture over and over and over again, which is fun. These kids are fun. And the parents, although they're carrying on a business, they're very supportive of their kids, and they're gracious, and it's enjoyable because the people are so upbeat and so pleasant. Most of the interesting buildings of Guatemala are churches or cathedrals, which, this is a Catholic country, and they devote a lot of their time and their money to building their churches. A lot of their churches are extremely colorful. We might even say gaudy. A number of the old churches were built by the Spanish in the mid 1500s to 1700s. But Guatemala is a city of volcanoes, and they've had a lot of volcanic eruptions and earthquakes that have destroyed a number of these cathedrals. Some of them have been rebuilt, some of them not. But most of the buildings that I found of interest were churches. I've lived in Oregon pretty much all my life, and as a photographer, I find it a wonderful place to live. There are endless opportunities, from the mountains to the ocean, waterfalls, deserts, wildlife, painted hills. The opportunities are endless. Another place where you can get some really interesting pictures are the carnival rides at the state fair. What can make these really kind of special is by using time-lapse shots. You get blurs and you get images that distort, and it creates some very interesting images. Yellowstone is a national park located mostly in Wyoming. It's a very large area, covers a good portion of Wyoming, and offers wonderful opportunities to photograph wildlife. While I was there, I photographed elk, deer, bear, coyotes, and buffalo. There's a lot of buffalo in Yellowstone. Not far from Yellowstone is Jackson, Wyoming. Jackson, Wyoming is known for its proximity to the Tetons. It sits at the base of the Grand Tetons, which are a truly majestic mountain range in Wyoming. And photographing the Tetons with all of its beauty, as well as some of the old buildings that I found located in the plains near the Tetons, made for some interesting photography. And of course, one of the major attractions of Yellowstone is Old Faithful. Machu Picchu is an old Inca city located high in the Andes Mountains in Peru. Its elevation is about 11,000 feet. The city is extremely well preserved, and the primary reason why it was well preserved was, number one, it's set 11,000 feet high. Number two, it was 1,000 foot above the Alhambra River. Number three, the Spanish conquistadors never found it. Consequently, had they found it, they would have done to Machu Picchu what they did to the other Inca cities, and that would have been to destroy it. Machu Picchu means manly peak, and this ancient city has like almost 200 structures in it, mostly built of granite stone. The photographic opportunities are endless. It is so beautiful and so intriguing. I found Machu Picchu to be one of the most beautiful ancient sites and one of the most interesting ancient sites that I've ever read of or been to. It seems to be, to me, it is almost a spiritual place. We spent a couple days there, one day where it was cloudy and overcast and raining, and the next day where it was magnificently clear and bright. My visit to Turkey started in Istanbul. Istanbul is a very ancient city, used to be called Constantinople. In Istanbul, there's the Topkapi Palace, which was the home of the Byzantine rulers for many, many years. The Sultan's palace there is a very fascinating place. Also in Istanbul are the mosques. Istanbul is famous for the Sofi Mosque, which has the piers are called minuets, and apparently the more minuets a mosque has, the more regarded, the more prestigious it is. From Istanbul, we went to the ancient city of Ephesus. Ephesus is an ancient city that has a number of well-preserved structures and Roman amphitheater. These are all Roman ruins. Roman amphitheater and the library. The library is probably the most well-preserved. Basically all you see of the library is the facade, but this is a very, very striking, intriguing photograph, and you've got a lot of angles and arches, and it makes for nice images. Nearby Ephesus is a old Roman ruins called Aphrodisias. The temple of Aphrodisias is the center of the ruins. It's a beautiful, well-preserved temple with multiple columns. Like many of the countries that I've traveled, the people of Turkey are very gracious people. They enjoy the tourism, and these people realize that a big part of their economy is based on tourism. They're very willing and almost wanting to have their picture taken, and they seem to be a very happy, very comfortable people. They don't let a camera get in their way. They go about their daily chores, and oftentimes they will stop and pose for you. In photography, images are often very difficult to categorize. I mean, in Turkey, you get Turkey pictures, but when you're driving down the road and you pull over to take a picture of a certain thing or an image there, it's a picture. It doesn't belong in any particular place. It's a picture. And this happens over and over, day in and day out. I'll take pictures. I take a picture of a baseball or a cabbage. Well, that's not Turkey, that's not Spain, it's just a picture.